Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet, and the other stations are tuned into.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn connects you with experts from all over the world to help you take charge of your career, your business, and your life. Rap along with us. Visit drjacalyn.com to learn how to become a guest or a sponsor. And now, the doctor is in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn presents Pet Psychic Aminah. We are live streaming on Business Talk Radio and social media. I am your host and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. And with me today is my co-host, who it's all about her today. Welcome, Aminah.
Thanks.
It's great to have you. So you're going to tell us your story today, which is so exciting. I personally don't know your whole story, so I'm thrilled.
I know. See, and you get to actually interview me better than we did before, and when we met. I'm a very fortunate person, not only in my life trajectory and choices that really were very organic, but also in my family. And yeah, I'm quirky, and I always go, "Am I adopted?" Because I don't know you people. You're because of course I wasn't the strange one. But let me back up. The biggest question I get is, did I study for this? Did I read a book or 500? And how did it happen? What I have found now that I have surrounded myself with psychics, which were never in my life. Not ever, until I was in my 30s or 40s, and I needed help with one of my pets and didn't trust my own self. And we all go through this. We might study, we might go to school, we might do everything. When you're studying to be a nurse, a doctor, or a therapist, whatever it is, you need support to say, no, you got this, you got this. And I have surrounded myself now with these people. So when I was a little one, I am the fifth child of teachers and a coach. And if it was a sport, we played it. If it had a ball, even better, and that kind of stuff. So very, very active life. For me, I was alone a lot because I was the youngest and everybody was out doing their own thing. So I was talking to the horny toads. If you know where those are, they're in the high desert. Southern California. So I would pick them up and talk to them and bring them home. And then I realized I can't feed them, so I have to go put them back and that type of stuff. So I surrounded myself with, telling God stories, told God a lot of stories, because everywhere I wanted to go, I had to walk. And I lived in the desert, so it was really far from one place to another. It was a really, really, really small town in Southern California. So lots of time on my own. And I just figured I, made it all up in my head. We did get a cat or two. We were terrible pet owners because my parents didn't know what they were doing and had a lot of kittens, but I spent a lot of time with them. I remember when I was probably about 4 is my earliest memory, is we had a black cat. And one day I just couldn't stand it anymore. And I took the scissors and I cut all his whiskers off. And because they were tickling my face, it was really annoying. But what I didn't know is he kind of needs those. That's how they fit into a hole or judge a building. It's like their own tape measure on their face. If my whiskers can fit, I can fit. And so, he just sat there while I clipped them all off. And my mom saw it later and went, "What happened to the cat?" And I slowly walked away, and I don't know. But, you learn as a child these types of things. If you know what 4-H is, they're, of course, a lot about animals. But it also was public speaking. I come from a mother who did a great deal of public speaking, worked in nonprofits and all that. So we all grew up doing that. I have a picture of me at 9 giving a presentation about rattlesnakes. I lived in the country of rattlesnakes. It was what was around us. So you learn to be really careful about how you behaved out in the desert. because they're going to be out there. And I have never been bitten by a rattlesnake. I have been bitten by a snake, but not a poisonous one. And I had a bunch of children around me I was explaining the snake to when he bit me. Everybody freaked out and was like, it's just a bite. The dog bites harder, and that type of stuff. So I'm really fortunate to always have been moving and passionate about animals and what it was and what they say. And my mom took me to a science lab once, and I got to watch the rats being literally shredded, eaten by a bunch of caiman, little bitty alligator type things. And you would think for an 8-year-old that would have been pretty gruesome. And for me, no, I could see the science in it. And I could understand that from a very young age. And I was very lucky that my mom had friends that worked in wildlife. I have a picture, I think I'm about 13 or 14. My parents have passed, so my sisters we've all disseminated all these articles, and I finally have the originals. And I'm in Sunset Magazine holding a great horned owl on my arm, no sleeve. He didn't cut me up, but I should have been wearing a glove. And I had all these amazing experiences. And I always felt like I just know things. And people later in my teenage years would say, well, how do you know that? And I don't know. I don't know. It just is. So the only way I can equate it for me is it's like asking me, what's it like to be blonde? And I was like, I don't know. I was born with blonde hair. I don't know that answer. What's it like to be white? Well, I might have a little better today explanation, but I didn't know any of the difference when I was a kid. I always spoke in a first person when I was very small. Don't do that. He doesn't like it. Don't do this. Telling my sisters, my brother, friends, and then you get the looks. That sounds weird. And you really quickly, even as a child, you go, I don't know if I want to be weird. So I stopped talking about it. I stopped understanding what was going on out loud. So I kept it to myself. And then what I did is I went to education. I went to college for animal science. I was doing many other things that really moved forward. I was doing sign language for a long time because I really wanted to work in that community, not only with their pets and their animals. I worked in a vet clinic. I got certified as a vet assistant and worked in a vet clinic so I could literally understand medicine even better. So with my whole life, just working towards what I was passionate about, but making it quantifiable by the public. I had always loved animals, so this was what I knew. Well, I'm working in a wildlife sanctuary, and I love it. I've actually had my hands in a bear's mouth. We had a little bear cub. He wasn't very old, and he was being walked around the compound, and I was the spotter. I was the backup with the other handler, and they were walking ahead to unlock a gate, and little bear went down, picked up something off the ground, and being a mom, I think, is also very helpful. And I grabbed that little bear's snout, swiped my hand through his mouth so quickly. The bear's like, what the heck happened? He had eaten a tiny preservative bag, like you put in shoes, clothes, this type of stuff. It is highly toxic. So this is something that the vets would have had to go searching for, because how would you ever think that you're out in the middle of a forest, basically, and then this is what he ingested, and it could really have done some serious harm. The handler, of course, saw me do this really quickly. He's like, what the heck? And then I opened my hand because we had public behind us in a distance. So I opened my hand so he could see it, and he said, oh, thank you. Because, he wanted to know why I'd stuck my hand in this little bear's mouth. Teaching, always teaching. I love teaching. I did a lot of how to handle everything from a snake to horses, to the hedgehog. That's what I'm trying to think of. They are very spiky, but there's a way to soften your hand down so it's comfortable for both of you. And we had a lot of these animals because they were either left. Sadly, 3 of them were left in a garage after somebody moved out. And luckily, the owner of the house checked and found them. So we got all kinds of animals from Hollywood that were retired or didn't ever want to be an actor and that type of stuff. So for me, it was around this time that I have always thought, in the beginning, years ago, I always thought the voices I hear in my head were just my voice talking to me because it's so familiar. And then I was starting to be told things like, well, you need to go public. And I was like, what? Like, tell people? Because of course I read for family or friends. My kids all had pets, but I didn't do it publicly. So it was all about, wow, that sounds really dangerous with where I'm working and that type of stuff. So I had a pet psychic, as I said, who lived in Texas. I had used her off and on for years. So I called her. I said, Dorothy, what is this about? What am I doing? And she said, well, it's time. It's time for you to do this as a living and go public. And I was like, you mean tell people out loud on purpose? So I was really, really nervous. My girls were very supportive, but, I worried about the rest of my family or I don't know, any of that kind of stuff, because I know it's different. And I've done a lot of strange things, but this was going to be one of the strangest things. And what's really hard is I started reading up on psychics and that kind of stuff and went, okay, I get a guide, somebody that will help, and somebody will give me guidance on, yes, you really heard what you saw, you're not out here on your own. And I thought, okay, like, do you go down to the grocery store and pick one off the shelf? Or, how does this all work? And again, I didn't have any psychics besides her. And she was telling me that she was retiring. Again, she lived in Texas. We had never met face to face. And so I'm like, okay, how does this all happen? So I went down to the local library and started pulling out books to read about all the different types of psychics, all the different ways. And again, it says you'll get a guide. And I'm thinking, and so for me, it happened very, very organically. One day, I just knew I wasn't alone anymore. And my guide is a male figure. Everybody kind of resonates with what they see. I know I have a woman who's a psychic in my life and does it professionally. And she sees my guide is more female, but that's her vision. And that kind of stuff. So I can ask Gabriel questions. I can check on what I'm doing. I'm not out here alone. Besides, I now have an entire community of psychics that I can ask, because I wasn't raised in this world. There's so much I still don't know. I kind of try to stay in my own little lane, and I find it easier to do that.
I'm just blown away by a lot of what you've shared. It's so interesting and fascinating. So I really appreciate you being here and telling us your story. We are going to take a break and hear from some of our sponsors, which we love. Thank you, sponsors. We will be right back here with Pet Psychic Aminah. Stay with us.
Hi, my name is Zane Carson Carruth, and I'm the author of this book, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever.
Reading is magic. Studies have shown that reading to your children lays the foundation for greater success in life. Reading helps develop language and vocabulary skills. It helps improve memory, and it encourages curiosity and inspires creativity. The benefits are immeasurable, and as a parent, you'll benefit too. In only 10 or 15 minutes a day, you'll be creating more memories and a bonding experience that will last for years to come. So take time to read to your children. Read them books about things that engage and interest them. Tales of fairies and magic fascinate children, and as everyone knows, the Tooth Fairy is at the top of the list. If your child loves magic, wands, adventure, and what child doesn't, you'll love reading them books from the trademarked series, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever. Follow along as Bella, the world's first tooth fairy, accidentally starts the tooth fairy tradition. Learn the tricks of being a professional tooth fairy in the book, Bella Starts a Tooth Fairy School. Your child's imagination will soar as you read the adventures of Bella and her magic wand. These wonderful books are available at worldsfirsttoothfairy.com and at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Walmart.
I don't think men are superficial idiots, that their brains are wired to be visual. I'm told I give great advice.
Nike Just Do It for exercise, I think really applies to sex, too.
I've coached hundreds of men and women.
I disagree with her where she's like, put it all out there on the first date. You know, an open book is not sexy.
Exactly.
You know.
Do you have relationship questions? Chances are one of my clients, or myself, or my friends have gone through the same thing, and I already made a video about it. So I invite you to check out my YouTube channel, Donna Barnes. I've made hundreds of advice videos based on real-life experiences so that you can make better choices.
In my upcoming Breakup Recovery Action Plan, there's going to be checklists and quizzes.
Best information that I've ever experienced or acquired. If you're stuck and can't move forward or let go, my action plan is built to help you. Subscribe to my channel. I'll help you have better relationships.
My stomach issues make me want to stay home, but that's not an option. No matter how prepared I am, I still feel nervous. Enough is enough.
If this sounds familiar, the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation can offer you support and connect you with a specialist.
Don't keep your symptoms to yourself. Get help at spillyourguts.org today.
Ladies and gentlemen, and here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome back to Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn presents Pet Psychic Aminah. I'm so excited to hear more of your story.
Thank you so much. It is, everybody says, oh, you should write a book. Maybe. Maybe we'll get to that.
You know, I never met a pet psychic, and it's interesting because someone else whom we've interviewed on the show, he contacted me to let me know that he had gone to a pet psychic. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's interesting. So then here we are today. So take it away. Let's hear more of your story.
The fun part is I have this great, all of this is real life. It really happened to me. So I'm cruising the psychic books in the library and way over my head. Again, not in my world. I'm learning a whole new vocabulary and I suck at it. I'm a terrible student. So a lot of people say, well, can you do this? Can you do this? I can do this by, you know, what other people can do, I have found is very, very personal. So I was terrified. The job I had at the time was working with wildlife. It is not a place that you go and say, I speak to the animals, because those are usually the people who have a reputation that just go in with them and then they get eaten and then you're on the 9 o'clock news and the place gets shut down. So everybody's very, very careful. And I was too. I left my job and really wanted to continue doing enrichment. And I'll talk about all of what that means and that kind of stuff. So I was very nervous and just going, what am I doing? How am I going to do this professionally? Because that was always the trajectory of what, because I'd already done it privately for years. I got a message from my now guide, and he's like, no, you need to tell this person at work. And I'm like, are you kidding? What happens? I know people at work, but because we mostly all work independently in about 20 acres, it's not like I spend a lot of time with the humans. I spend more time with the animals. So this gentleman was always either coming off shift while I was coming on and that type of stuff. So I was told to talk to him, and I was really nervous, really, really nervous, because, what happens if he says something that anyways, I was really nervous, and I got pestered and I got pestered and I got pestered. So his mother, our moms were at the end of their life at around the same time. His mom had already passed, and mine was going through that process. So we talked about this all the time. So I'm driving home at 7 a.m. one day to go home because I'd worked the night shift. And as I'm passing what I didn't recognize at the time, this part in the street, because we were in hills, so I got to the bottom of the hill, and all of a sudden this lady starts screaming at me, in my head. And she's like, no, you got to tell him, you got to tell him. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And why do I know who she is? I don't know most of the time why I know things. So this was this gentleman's mother who had died, who's screaming at me literally for 3 days, because I was going home for my weekend and then coming back late the third day. So I finally get the courage up to go up to him, because of course she's driving me crazy. And because I had no experience with people who had died at that point talking to me. So she tells me, okay, you have to talk to him, So ironically, he and I were supposed to work on a project in one of the trucks, blah, 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 go down the street, da, 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 da. That happened that day. And so we're sitting in the cab and she's yelling at me, talk. So I take a deep breath. We get out to do what we're going to do around the truck. And I say, Chris, I'm so sorry. I have to tell you this. So I tell them that I've been yelled at by his mom for 3 days, and that I'm a pet psychic, and I hear all kinds of things, and I'm not sure why I'm supposed to tell you this, but I did. And he's like, oh yeah, we got psychics all over our family. It was amazing. I also got his mom to stop yelling at me. And he said, yeah, she's like that. And I said, yeah, I gathered that from all our conversations about our moms. And he got me a book with like a psychic dictionary. It was huge. It was absolutely huge. It's out of print. And it was just, I had somebody to talk to. I had somebody to, because he doesn't do anything with his gift, and his brother has a lot of the gift, and his sister doesn't acknowledge it at all. So he really got to talk about the family dynamics. It was just what I needed at that moment, was some support in a human. And of course he didn't have all the answers, and that wasn't what it was about. It was to say, no, yeah, if this is something you have, that this is real, and go for it. And of course my kids were so supportive. They'd known, of course, their whole lives, because I always, again, I spoke in the first person, don't do that, he doesn't like it, did you hear him say blah, 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 blah. And they most of the time went, no. But what they learned is to watch the body language. So even if you can't hear your animals, you can watch their ears, you can watch their tails, you can watch their body language. And when you're committed to your animals, you really, really figure that out. It's the same thing as when you get to know a new person. Do I have a twitch? Do I get nervous? Am I anxious in public? Everybody has comfort zones. And animals are exactly the same. If they turn away when you try to give them some kind of strange food, yeah, they probably don't like it. Is it necessary that they eat it? Maybe. And you learn to adapt with that. But what I have learned is there is so many steps in our lives that we don't understand. Why did that tragedy happen? How come I lost my house, my job, my best friend, whatever it is that is really life altering? If you hang in there and really live genuinely, and I'm being very simplistic on this because we only have so much time, is you will find out. You will find out maybe a week, maybe 6 weeks, maybe 6 years, that there was a reason that your life took a pivot. Sometimes we have to get out of our own way in order to be where we're supposed to be and to be where we genuinely are. What I love is I was ready for this change because I had filled my life with education and experience. And now when I talk to clients, I can give them suggestion. Yes, it's time to go to see a vet. And I can do the body check with the gift I've got as a psychic and asking the pet how they feel, what's going on. Does it feel tight? Does it is? But then I'm going to say, no, now you need to go see a vet. Now you need to see a trainer that can physically come out with you, because I'm going to give you a lot of training tips. I've also done it with my own pets that I have adopted, most of them strays and or shelters. German Shepherd. He was 2, I think, when we adopted him. He'd been dumped in a backyard, purebred, and went on to do amazing things. And learning to work with him and know that my 3 and 4-year-old children, who were about eye to eye with him, were safe, and not leaving them out in the backyard all by themselves. So this is another part of hanging there. Follow your gut when you know how to trust it. And will you trip and fall? Yes. And I don't know about you, but my trip and falls are my biggest teachers. And you go, yeah, I'm not going to do that. So. I'm good at sign language, but not that good.
I put myself on mute when you're talking, so there's no distraction.
I know, so you can cough, sneeze, and do whatever you want.
Yes. No, so when you were going through all of this, and we'd take a commercial break in a couple minutes, but when you were going through all of this and deciding to come forward and go public, and you look back on that now, like what advice, and I know you were giving some, but what advice would you give to other people who feel that they have gifts and they're, whatever the gifts are?
Exactly, whatever
they are, and they're insecure, they're afraid, they're living in fear?
You owe it to yourself. I really want to leave that big statement. You owe it to yourself, your future, your health, your mental health, to try. If we all have fear, my biggest fear is, oh God, nobody's going to ever talk to me again because they think I'm crazy. Because how do I quantify this? You can go to school as for psychics. I understand that. They didn't work with me because they never resonated with me. I didn't get any of that. So I had to listen to my guide. I had to listen to the people. And now I surround myself with people I trust, and who, none of them are pet psychics, but they're psychics. And they give me great advice on, okay, this is normal. This is what you do. But you owe it to yourself to try. Do you want to be a professional football player, girl or boy? Do you want to be a talk show host? Okay. Then if you're shy or you say, oh, I can't do that, I don't like talking to people, well, then why do you want to do that in the first place? It's my first question. But there's something that has a desire in you, and you don't want to get to 60, 80, or 50, 500 years old and say, oh, I shoulda, I coulda, I woulda. Pick something, because you get to die with those regrets. And if you fall on your face, guess how much you learn, because sadly we learn better when we fall on our faces. because we don't tend to do it again.
That's right.
It's painful. And you learn a lot. And guess what? You become that mentor. You brought up the young man who we talked to, one of my guests that stuttered. And look at what he's giving back. And he really, really struggled in high school, middle school, all those terrible places to being bullied and made fun of. But he's giving back with what he went through. And he has compassion and understanding. The same thing. If you feel like you should be a carpenter, go study.
Because you're just going to be left with a lot of regrets. And those regrets, I always say, it's like your bag of bricks that you're dragging around with you. So,
oh gosh, yes. Great
time. So we've got to take a break and hear from one of our sponsors, but we'll be right back with Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn presents Pet Psychic Aminah. We're hearing her story firsthand. So thanks for watching and listening. We'll be right back.
Hi everyone, I'm Mindy Thomas, founder of Thomas Career Consulting. If you are dealing with the stress of having been terminated or being laid off, considering a career change, or you simply cannot land a job with your current resume, you came to the right place. My professional expertise centers on being trained in two distinct areas, career counseling and career marketing. I am also the host of Career Chat, a weekly talk show which appears on RVN TV. My end game is helping you to overcome the self-doubt, the fear, and the other barriers you are facing right now in a very tricky, perplexing, and complicated job market. .5 seconds. That's how much time it takes a recruiter to scan your resume. On top of that, electronic applicant tracking systems may reject you even if you have the skills, education, and experience. I teach you how to win when you absolutely have to. My resume writing practice is built on a personalized, collaborative, and strategic approach that showcases your accomplishments in a way to get you noticed. At the center of my strategy is identifying your strengths and targeted keywords to make you stand out from the competition. As a professional resume writer, I know what it takes to impress even the most discriminating hiring manager. Changing careers, launching a new one, overwhelmed or stuck in a dead-end job? I have more than 2 decades of experience as a Georgetown-trained leadership coach, resume writer, career counselor, and recruiter. So whether you're a student, a top executive, or simply struggling to find your own career identity and you're feeling lost, you can count on me to lead you through the journey of self-discovery. I will formulate a step-by-step plan that begins with the assessment of your skills, your interests, your values, and your personality, and then explore the opportunities that are best suited to align with you. In essence, what makes sense for you? With 25 years of business experience, I have been privileged to work with a diverse group of adults, from young high school students to the millennials, the Generation X, Y, and Z, and boomers. Let me put that to work for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is. The most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Well, hello, Aminah. How are you?
I'm good. Long time no see.
I know. Is everything good in California?
It is. We have gotten some rain. Our hills are turning green. It's absolutely beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And then they'll turn gold, and then we'll have to cut it all down. They actually bring sheep into our area because we have so many fields near us, and they eat it down, and it's great because they, poop out the great fertilizer, and it was free.
What a system. Now, have you ever heard a sheep's thoughts, or have you ever had to communicate with any sheep?
Sadly, they're incredibly, let's put it nicely, simple-minded. It's very get out of my way. I'm hungry. I don't want you here. Yeah, it's very basic. Where I really, really, really stress is with all pet owners. I don't care who you have, even a snake. That's a really short conversation. And I have a client who has them. But what's really nice is I absolutely adore snakes. And so I've had them. I've worked with the housing. So my breadth of knowledge is in go to the vet. I can help you with symptoms and say, yeah, no, now. And then how is the caging? How's the food? How is the skin? How is the eye? We can have a longer conversation. I talk a lot about nature as far as if you're dealing with a dog, a carnivore specifically, then treat him like a carnivore. And don't be surprised if you put your hand in his mouth and he bites you. Because I can't tell you how many dogs, sadly, will go to the shelter or the pound, actually, and be given up and said, oh, he bites. Well, they're not going to test that theory and see if he bites anybody because that's a lawsuit waiting. But that is a death sentence for that animal that you had a child who pulled his tail, or you stepped on his toe, or you didn't feed him, or something happened that elicited the bite. Because it is a protection for them to say, whoa, wait a minute, I'm scared. A scared animal is one of the most dangerous to be around. It's the same with people. Get a scared person, they'll run into the fire in the house, not away from the fire. And you're like, what did you do? Oh, but my famous blah, blah, blah was in the house. Really? And now you're burned all in 3/4 of your body. We do the worst things when we're stressed, when we're not thinking straight. And animals are no different. If you're going to talk about a cat, they live alone. They can kind of go and do that. And I've seen cats walk away and say, I'm out of here. I don't want anything to do with you. I had a woman early on in my career doing this professionally, and she was beside herself. She was getting ready to move to another state. And her cat had literally left the building. And she walked the neighborhood every day, and she was leaving in 6 days. So I got her on 4 days before, but she started walking the neighborhood. Kitty, kitty, kitty. Have you ever tried to find a cat?
No.
It's really impossible because they're watching you the whole time going, yeah, there's that dumb person. Yeah, there's that dumb person. They really think we're idiots. And most days we are. I have to admit that. So I had to come up with some really creative things. Sadly, people don't understand that they've caused the issue. And I'm going to tell you this cat's name. You ready for the cat's name?
Yes.
It was Maybe. Maybe we will keep you. Maybe we won't. And that's how that cat got named. So think about the energy you put out when you say, I hate that. I hate you. I maybe will go to your house. Nobody wants to. Hey, you want to come for lunch? Maybe.
Maybe.
Hey, you want this job? Maybe. This is not a positive thing.
Right. It's like when I say to someone, you want to be a guest on the show? Maybe. Well, forget it. You're out.
Yeah, thank you. That was perfect. I didn't even know that. Because you want that enthusiasm. You want them to bring the joy of what they do, because all the listeners get to enjoy that.
Right.
Or if you're talking about something really serious or tragic, you're still bringing that passion for wanting somebody to learn from your experience and do better. But she names this cat Maybe. So we're behind the 8 ball, literally. And so she literally, and the cat knows, because she's pushing this energy out. And she took the cat from, I guess, a daughter or somebody who went to college. Anyways, so I told her, okay, you got 4 days, and this is what you have to do. This, you have to put out scent, you have to put out food, you have to put out, you have to make up for the damage that's already done, because the cat does not feel like this is serious. He can see that you're going to move. He sees the boxes. He feels the motion in the house, and your intention of, okay, I got to do this. I got to do this. There's a lot on your plate, and they feel that. But what he doesn't feel is that you're serious and want him in your life and to come with you. So this is the conversation you need to change, and you need to pay the price by going around and trying to find him. Long story short, we did it in steps. She had to walk out. I asked her to keep her garage door open, keep the food inside, make a bed for him, all loving gestures, because a cat is about reality, not that you made it up. And I said, he'll know if you're just blowing smoke. If you just pretend to do all this stuff that I've asked you to do, it will mean nothing. You either have to decide that this cat is who you want, or you don't, because he can live alone on the street just fine. There's plenty of mouse. There's plenty of birds out there to eat. Cats are very easily to make that transition. Dogs have a little bit harder time. They're very, very bonded to us. Even bad owners, sadly. Even bad owners, they're very bonded to them. Long story short, maybe finally came back on the day before she moved. And I asked her, please change his name. please, because she's seeing where she created the feeling of not being valued and wanted. And this cat was smart enough to go, I'm out of here. I can do better.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. But sometimes we need, and that's what professionals like me, like you, put a mirror in front of your face and say, have you looked at yourself lately? Because this is the problem. You.
Yes, you're in the same. So I have a question.
Absolutely.
What about when a pet owner, because of their work schedule, whatever it is they're doing, they have to leave their dog, for example, in a crate for 8 hours, 10 hours. How do the animals, feel about that?
If you're talking about a dog specifically, it is really hard. They are a pack animal. They are part of the team. They are also very, very active carnivores, hunters, gatherers, lay around with their puppies and their family. So it is very hard for them to do that. Sometimes this is really, really necessary. Getting the biggest enclosure you can instead of one that just fits their body, so that they don't get bad hips, bad legs, all that because think about it. Strap yourself into an airline seat. You know how tight they are now? Mm-hmm. They have taken every inch. Your arms are on somebody else's arm, and you're buckled into that seat for the next 8 to 20 hours, because sometimes we work overtime or we're late or something like that, and it gets into 10, 20 hours that we're gone. So if we can, and this is the mirror I try to show people, is if it was you, if it was your child, your human child, which these are for so many of us, a lot of people, my family members included, are not having human children, they are having pets. So with that knowledge that we've really, really come to depend on that relationship, would you want to be locked in a cage for 8 or 10 hours? So no, it is get a dog walker. There are tons of beautiful, wonderful college students who need the money even now, and you can trust. And I'm sure that none of us are famous enough to have our dog walker shot.
Right.
And our dog's taken. So that's just a whole nother tragic human problem. Yes. But we all saw the news. So having them walked, having somebody come in, is the cost of owning a furry pet, a furry child. This one needs good food, good medical, a good college. Okay, well, your college is going to be a good dog walker, a good babysitter, somebody who's going to come out in the middle of the day, clean the poop out of the cage, for goodness sakes, because animals are highly clean. You do not see them defecating in their dens for canines. Or cats, they cover it up. It's 5 feet away. They don't do that. So if they do, it's time probably for a medical checkup and that type of stuff. Go with the animal you have and then try to make accommodations. If they cannot be trained to come to work with you, or it's not possible at your work, because how neat would it be to see you all day long but sleep by your desk, or have their own pillow, or you have a couch. I mean, I could imagine in your studio you'd have this great love seat or something like that, and it would be like half dog, and then think about your breaks. You get to pet them, you get to hug them, and you had a really intense interview, or it didn't go as well. Whatever it is, your mental stability will be benefited by having that fluffy, lovey, hairless cats. I don't understand. So that's another thing. But that petting that we do is, every psychologist will tell you, it really calms us down. It recenters us. And that's what our pets can do. So think creatively and try to have some way that they also live a really good life with you.
Wonderful advice and direction. Thank you, Aminah. We are going to take a short break and we'll be back. Stay with us. We're with pet psychic Aminah, who has shared her story with us today. Located at 121 Haddon Avenue in Westmont, New Jersey, is Margie Cedrone, artisan jeweler. Margie's been in business for more than 30 years. She works with her clients to create custom pieces of jewelry to reflect their personality and help them make their own bold statement. Starting in the renowned Jewelers Row in Center City, Philadelphia in 1988, Margie works directly with her clients to develop one-of-a-kind pieces such as necklaces, engagement rings, wedding bands, unique watches and tennis bracelets, as well as a myriad of rings and earrings for everyone in your family. She also has worked directly with Dr. Jacalyn over the years, creating unique pieces of jewelry to reflect her personality. She does pearl stringing and repairs on site at 121 Haddon Avenue. Call or text Margie at 215-384-7155. Margie Cedrone Jewelry is open by appointment only. Make your own bold statement.
Looking for children's books to embrace the imagination, to inspire your kids to be the best they can be and to love themselves? Look no further. Children's author DianeFloydBain.com. You'll find the books right there and on Amazon and local stores.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is the most authority show on the planet that the other stations are tuned into.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Well, that was a quick break, right?
Yeah, it was. And I really, I want to answer any questions, of course, that you have. And please, anybody message us and all that, and I will answer everything I possibly can get to. But I want to give you some ideas. I have a lot of people who say, you know, what do you hear? What's the conversation? As I said with the snake, it's really short. It's really short. It's a little peanut brain in there, and it's all about food, caging, and housing, and all that type of stuff, and knowing what animal you have. But I've been really, really fortunate to be a part of some extraordinary conversations. They don't tell your secrets. Don't worry. That's not what it's about. It's about helping you It's about moving you forward. I used to do, of course, a live in-person class. I do a few things on Meetup still, and we do them digitally. Clients all over the world. One of my favorite is I got a new client about 2 years ago in Croatia. She met somebody who had met me, and so she and I talked while she was actually on a walk with her dog, and she's like, "Why is this? He was paying attention. He was doing really great. Now he just walks off and he waits." And so she gave him a command to sit while we were talking because she was at a light or something, walking across the street. And so I start chuckling, and she's like, he told you something. I said, "Oh yeah." So she got to the point where she was so frustrated with when they stop at the curb. This is a working dog, so she takes it to work and works with other people, and so she has some really, really much maybe stricter rules about his behavior because they're working in the public forum. And I'm not going to elaborate on that, but so there's a little bit more structure. So she expects him to sit at the light turns green, they walk across and all that kind of stuff, which is a great safety thing. And that kind of stuff takes another second to get them up and going. So this puppy's not very big, Bichon Frigé, very cute puppy.
They're cute.
Little puffball. So she's using him with autistic children and special needs adults, and just a great breed for this. So I'm listening to the puppy takes off, end of leash, and she's like, "Come back." Okay, 1, 2, 3. I'm thinking, are you kidding? So the dog now thinks come or sit is come 1, 2, 3, sit 1, 2, 3. He thinks the command has changed. So she's giving him a warning, but she says it so many times that he's like, okay, wait for it. 3. Okay, sit. So we don't realize we cause our own problems, because if she just said sit and waited, and then you go, oh, it's just, and what they hear is the hard consonants, and they don't care what it's what it sounds like to them, and you do it with love, you do it with calm authority, never with any kind of hate or any of that. If they know they're getting beat to, going to get whipped by the time they come back, that's not a positive relationship. That's not a give and take. That's not loving and that type of stuff. So you really want to think about what you're doing. One young woman, we were in a class forum, so there were about 5 to 10 people there. I think there were 12, irrelevant. But so I talked to a lot of women, and they love the class format because I get to hear and learn from everybody else's experience. So this young woman, we were just finishing, she talking about, her struggles at home with her partner and the dog. And so the dog came back and said, no, she's not done. Her life's in danger. So I instantly said, whoa, wait a minute. Why is your life in danger? She said, oh, he told you. And I went, yeah. And all the women, man, they were ready to kill somebody. Don't ever have a whole group of women. And a young girl, she was probably in her late 20s. And she said, well, my boyfriend threatened to kill me.
Oh my gosh.
And the dog narked on her because he understands that the chemistry of, and he can feel the anger, hate, and aggression that the man has towards her. And so we all like, okay, one woman actually offered, do I come to your house today and take you away? And you should see those women, they were really there for her. So the messages I get are not in my control. This is organic. This is whatever is supposed to happen. I don't have any guarantees. I don't know what you're going to say any day, or what you and I are going to talk about.
Right.
It's the same kind of control that you have over others, or you think you do. Your pet is going to love you the way you love them. And when it's good and kind and loving, which she was, he's also going to protect her. And he's a pack mentality. A cat's going to protect in a different way. A woman much older asked about something that happened in her childhood, that she had a dog and she was in foster care or some version of that. and asked, well, my foster parents said the neighbor shot him, shot the dog, and all of a sudden he was gone. I said, no, your neighbor didn't shoot him. And the dog was only there for her as a type of spirit animal. So the dog knew that she was going to be going to a permanent home, even though she hadn't been told that yet. But the dog knew and was going to go on. But it's really a tragedy that some adults feel that they need to have the upper hand. So it was out of hate and anger, and why they're doing foster care, I have no idea. That's a whole different conversation. But I told her, I said, no, he knew he was going on to his next child because you were going to move and you didn't know that. But, the tragedy is that you've carried this around for 25 years of saying, the neighbor shot the dog, and that kind of poison to your heart doesn't need to be there. And that kind of stuff. One of my favorite one is when the dog said, the owner wanted to know, well, does he like me? Are we doing good? Because I think we're doing good, but maybe he's not, so I came to you. And I said, well, he says, you smell funny, but you're mine. He was on a lot of medication, so diabetes, and it changes the glucose, and the dog can smell all of it. And I always tell women specifically, if your dog specifically, the cats will do it too, but the dogs are really, really on it. If they come up and try to pull you down onto the ground, or they bump you in the breast repeatedly, over and over and over and over, because your hands aren't up there to pet. That's not where your hands are. You need to go to the doctor yesterday. They can smell cancer when it's not even detectable by any means that the doctors have yet. They can tell you're going to faint. And that's why therapy dogs are so, so vital to people who have PTSD, to cancer, I don't care what it is. I don't care what it is. What a lot of people don't understand, we're talking about dogs and cats, but pigs are more intelligent than a dolphin. If you understand that a dolphin is highly intelligent, the military use them because they have sonar and radar and all that stuff they can hear in the water. They did a drama about a pig, and this woman had a pig in her house. They're highly intelligent. They need a lot of stimulation. But the pig walked out the house because her front door was open and walked out into the street. And she's a kind of rural area. And they kept going by and kept going. And nobody stopped. There was like a pig in the street. Okay, big deal. Well, the pig went down to the neighbor's house. And the neighbor knew that the pig was this woman's. And comes back and says, wait a minute, why does this pig keep coming back and trying to get me? So he walks to the house, and the woman had a stroke and was on the ground. But the pig understood, I need help. I have no digits. Pigs understand their reflection. This is a really big cognitive deal, because remember, we all love the cat when he goes by the mirror and he tries to eat himself because he thinks it's another cat. So this is what I try to help with. It's not just the psychic stuff. It's how do you treat a carnivore like a carnivore? How do you treat an omnivore like an omnivore? And what are the tricks we can do that we can get you healthy and have that great relationship? And I hope I move that conversation forward.
Just so much beautiful, important information. I'm hoping that people listening and watching are really resonating with what you shared, because if you are a pet owner, you have to listen to your pets. You have to talk to them too. Yes, I wish I had pets again, but I don't. I wish I had talked more, listened more. So I'm in a great show today. Can you I'm going to spotlight you. We're running your banner. Please let everyone know the best way to reach you. And again, the services that you provide.
Yeah, bridgingworlds.us. And that is the best way. Everything you want to know about me, and links to some of the videos I've done and that type of stuff. Of course, Facebook, LinkedIn. I have a lot education. I do a lot of fun. I am horribly sarcastic. All this stuff, and we're going to have such an amazing Dottie Boone is going to join us next week, and she talks to dead people. I talk to dead people, so she helps me talk to dead people because I never know when to make the dead people go away. and so she is a older, wonderful woman, and she and I are going to talk about that. We've got so many neat things. I hope you guys join us. Please, questions, join us on social media. I know Dr. Jacalyn and I are on LinkedIn and love to have you guys there. So join us.
Thank you, Aminah. Thanks for being here today. I look forward to seeing you next week.
Absolutely. Be safe.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And thank you again to our loyal listeners and viewers. We really appreciate you being here. We have 4 shows today, so don't go away. We've got 2 more coming up. And I also wanted to announce that as of today, we have a Better You Club membership. This is $25, and you can practice yoga sculpt with me Saturdays and Sundays at 10 a.m. And also, I will lead a guided meditation Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays at 8 p.m. for 15 minutes. And I will also provide a very uplifting and insightful video every Sunday. So you basically get to practice yoga every Saturday, every Sunday, and 3 guided meditations every week and a video for $25. You don't have to sign up for more than 1 month. You can do 1 month and then that's it. You can sign up every month, whatever you want to do. Go to drjacalyn.com/book your session. All of our services are there. So thank you again for being here. We hope you have a wonderful weekend. We've got the variety show coming up, and we'll look forward to seeing you there.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.